Okay, in this portion of the tutorial we're going to talk a little bit about color, some of the eyedropper and swatch tools, and brushes. So far we've been working with information that we've kind of been given and adjusting it one way or the other. If we want to start pulling things from this, if we want to start pulling a particular color and using it for some other purposes, we can do that using the eyedropper tool. So we've got eyedropper, custom sampler, ruler, and notes. Honestly, I don't ever use, most of these others. I would typically use just the eyedropper tool. I'm sure there's good reason to use the others, but I don't use them. So eyedropper allows me to go in and kind of sample a color from the image, and you can see over here in my foreground color that it's changing based on whatever the color is at the point where I'm clicking on the image. So for example, if I wanted to put, say, a band of color down here at the bottom that I'm going to maybe put text over later, I might want that to be a color from the image and not just a random color, so I could go in and kind of fine-tune. It's showing you on the bottom what the current foreground color is, and on the top it's showing you the color that it's going to pick, so you can kind of see what's close or what's not close or what's completely different than the color that you're choosing. Once you have a color that you're happy with that you might want to use over and over again, you can take it, and if you click on the color, if you click here on the color, it'll bring up a color picker dialog box. You can choose to add it to the swatches, and you can name it something like, olive green from panorama, or from landscape photo. You don't have to name it anything, but that might be when you hover over it later, it might allow you to kind of see what it is. And in this color picker, if you're not pulling a color from the image, you can also go in here and fine-tune the colors, right? So you can choose from the range and then the hue and saturation within that, right? So this is the most pure color, this is taking it to white, to black, and to through the grays in between. So any range of that particular color you can pick from in here. You can also choose to work within one of the color systems. Sorry. In here is HSB, which is hue, saturation, brightness. RGB, which we've talked about before, red, green, blue, or CMYK, and so each of these are tied to each other. LAB is another color system you don't really have to worry about. So in here I could say if I wanted it to be 50% cyan, 0% magenta, 100% yellow, and 0% black, that's the color that I end up with. And you can see that all of the other colorways update as a result. Again, I can add this to a swatch. I'm not going to give it a name this time. You can see over here in my swatches panel that those things are popping up now, and I have those in addition to the presets that come in Photoshop. When I'm done, I'm going to hit OK, and you can switch back and forth, or you can click on the background so that you can adjust one versus the other, right? So foreground and background, you can toggle them back and forth, you can reset them to black and white, and now I can go in and choose from one of the swatches that are over here and pick those as well. So let's say, for example, I wanted this darker green. I'm going to pick it as my foreground color. I'm going to make using my marquee tool, I'm going to make a line at the bottom of the image, and I want to put that green in there. There's two different ways I can do that. Well, there's a couple different ways, but two basic ones. One is by using the paint bucket tool, which, my goodness, here we go, it's under gradient, I'm sorry, apologize about that. So the paint bucket tool lets me fill in whatever color is in the foreground on a layer. So which layer are we on? We're on the background layer. I should be filling in here, and you can see that I am. But easier than that, and I apologize for the awkwardness of that, I can edit and fill, and it's going to fill using the foreground color, which is one of my options. I can either choose black, white, 50% gray, foreground color, background color. I'm going to pick foreground color. I want it to be 100% filled in a normal way and hit OK. And that's going to fill that bottom band in with whatever color I have in my foreground. If that color were this pink color, edit, fill, foreground, hit OK. So I end up with pink now. I'm going to switch back up to here. I can't undo enough of that, so I'm just going to pretend like I hadn't done that bottom portion by cropping this out. This is another example of reasons to use non-destructive editing, which we talked a little bit about before and we'll go into in a little bit greater depth. The fill option lets me do that. The other things that we're going to talk about now are the clone tool and the magic eraser tool. Clone takes part of the image, it samples part of the image by holding down Alt or Option, and you can see it turns into kind of a crosshair. And I'm going to increase my brush size. We'll talk about brushes in a little bit, but for now, the diameter of the brush you can see is getting bigger or smaller based on the size that I'm clicking up here. I'm going to sample part of this image, so I'm going to sample the top of this mountain, and I'm going to go over here and draw it in. And I'm going to draw it in and kind of duplicate this portion of the mountain over here for some reason. Maybe I needed another peak or something. I could also do the same thing to get rid of something. So if I wanted to get rid of, I don't know, this dirt on the beach, I could sample this part over here that doesn't have any dirt, and I could come over here and draw over top of it and get rid of it. Apologize. You can see that it's kind of cloning everything that it sees. So that little darker portion where it had kind of a little part that was darker than the areas around it, got duplicated over and over again. Cloning is really like making a stamp of something. So it's taking something and it's transferring it to somewhere else. It can be an incredibly valuable tool. You use it a lot when you are filling in an area or getting rid of dust in a drawing. So let's say there's some dirt down here on the beach. I can use the clone tool. I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. Say I want to take from this area, sample from this area, and get rid of some of this dirt. Right now the opacity of it is at 50%, so if I increase that, I can cover it up completely in one pass. And you can see that I'm kind of smoothing out what I didn't want to have on the beach here. You've got to be careful about it. You can do it really seamlessly, or you can start to make edges of it, and you can start to really tell when you zoom out that this area does not look like anything else around it, so you have to be really careful about how you use it. The magic, the healing brush tool, or the spot healing tool, I'm going to use the healing brush tool, tries to go in and do that for you automatically. So if I select this tool and go in here and draw an area of the beach, it's going to go in and try to smooth out the edges of that transition. So if I do that again, I'm going to go in here, and it's sampling it from over on the other side where I had the previous portion sampled. So if I choose this area and go over here and fill in part of that, it's going to try to patch it and then make the transition as seamless as possible. So we might be able to see that better here, maybe in the mountain. Like I want to get rid of this ridge, so I can go in here and kind of paint it out, and it makes it disappear into the background. So that's the healing brush tool. The spot healing tool does the same thing, but it doesn't use anything as a reference, right? So it'll go in and look for all of the perceived imperfections in that area and try to get rid of them. So these are both really great tools to use. I can go down here and do the same thing. You have to be careful though, it doesn't always do what you want it to do. So you have to work on ways of controlling that. But these are two really great tools to use.